Hello everyone, welcome to another EU4 guide. Today we are looking at Chagatai. Chagatai saw a small boost in the new 1.29 patch. They now have a new idea set. The idea set is pretty good, but it's not top tier like Yuan, but it's not that bad either. The deploy annex discount is interesting and it pushes you to play a more vassal-centric game. But unlike changes to other hordes in the region, namely Oirat, Mongolia, and the Manchu hordes, Chagatai does not have a dedicated mission tree, which means a lack of flavor and a lack of some good modifiers. This makes Chagatai significantly weaker compared to the new and improved Oirat and Mongolia. So if you are a new EU4 player, I would not recommend playing Chagatai. But if you have a bit of experience with horde mechanics, you can definitely try Chagatai, as its playthrough is fairly interesting and you can play Chagatai in a few different ways. In this video, we are going to look at 3 different strategies for playing as Chagatai. Let's start with the strongest one. You can basically play Chagatai like you play Mongolia, except for the independence war part. Everything else is largely the same. You will attack Oirat when either their king dies, so they don't have a godlike general, or if you can find someone to attack them with, or when Ming declares a war on Oirat, whichever happens first. Then you will border Ming and become their tributary. After that, you will expand everywhere you can, preferably within your culture group provinces, and become super strong. If you are already 300 dev and Ming passes a reform, you can break tributary and declare war on Ming, or you can wait till Age of Reformation hits and then declare war on Ming when their mandate is low. Then you kill them slowly and become Yuan. We have discussed this strategy in Mongolia and it's not that hard, so I'm not going to go into details here. If you are looking for more detailed information on that, you can look at my Mongolia or Oirat guides. I'll leave links in description. The second strongest strategy with Chagatai is to farm Mughals. The decisions already give you an indication that it is a viable strategy, and we can actually farm Mughals very early in game. So to farm Mughals, we need the province of Delhi and one of the 3 provinces listed here. And that's very convenient, as we can just conquer our way to it from the north. Conquering these Indian provinces also accomplishes another objective. We start without feudalism, and the best way to get feudalism is to take provinces that already have feudalism, and we can get those from Delhi. So at the start of game, set the province in Ladakh as province of interest so your vassal can make claims. Then we'll just wait around till the claim is made. In my game, this happened by 1447. Ladakh had a couple of small allies. They usually never have big allies this early, so I attacked them and took just 1 province. I did not want this war to go on for too long, so I pieced them out early. After that, you can attack either Kashmir or Kangra, whoever is weaker. In my game, it was Kangra, and I full annexed them by 1450. So now I had borders with Delhi. Delhi was allied to Bengal and Nagaur, but Bengal won't join the war as they were busy fighting Orissa, which happens fairly often too. Delhi might ally someone else nearby in your game, but usually you will be strong enough to take them on. Just make sure you are doing all this before Military Tech 4, because they will get to Military Tech 4 before us, as they don't have the 50% penalty from feudalism. So I declared on Delhi as soon as possible and took these provinces. There is some aid, but not anything to worry about at this point. And so after this war, thanks to the provinces and the money from Delhi, we can now embrace feudalism. So that's one problem solved. Then we are just going to wait till our cores are done, fight some rebels, and after a while you will be able to switch tag to Mughal Empire. It is really easy, and I managed to do it by 1457. If you have never played Mughals, well, you should definitely play as Mughals. They have some insane bonuses such as the assimilated culture bonus, and their government reforms are amazing too. Mughals also get a ton of free claims, a very nice mission tree. They are one of the best tags to play a full expansionist game. And as you can see from here, you can farm them easily starting as Chagatai. And after farming Mughals, you can just expand into India obviously, and keep going west onto Timurids and Uzbek, or take on Ming later if you want to. The other significant tag you can farm playing Chagatai is the Ilkhanate. Ilkhanate is an obscure tag in EU4, and it was only introduced recently, I think within the last couple of patches or so. And a lot of you guys have been asking me for a guide on how to farm Ilkhanate. So I thought, why not combine it with Chagatai, which starts in a fairly good position to play as Ilkhanate. I mean, as good as any, because Ilkhanate is not a tag you will want to farm outside of role-playing purposes. It doesn't have a top-tier idea set, and it doesn't have a mission tree either. And you don't get any claims anywhere. The decision to farm Ilkhanate is a hidden one though. Basically, you cannot see it until you fulfill a couple of criteria. So let's look at how my game progressed from here. By the way, you cannot farm Ilkhanate if you're Mughals. You have to remain a steppe nomad, a horde. After taking the provinces from Delhi, which I think you should take anyways, even if you're not farming Mughals. There are a couple of good reasons for this. One is that it gives you feudalism, and also those provinces have farmland and cotton, which gives dev cost reduction, and thus they are great for developing future institutions. And the second reason is that you get a bit of progress into India, which gives you another avenue to expand in that region, and you will want to expand in India earlier rather than later. While coring these provinces, I noticed that Timurids were fighting their independence war against their vassals, and I did not want a strong alliance group in that region. Neither did I want a big blob, because that was the region I was going to expand into primarily. So when the opportunity was right, I decided to attack Transoxiana. I just took their money and only a couple of provinces from them. Soon after that, Ming declared on Oirat, and that was my cue to declare on Oirat as well. From this war, I took some provinces and their money. I wanted to border Ming so I could become their tributary. This would mean giving up some monarch points or ducats to Ming every year, but it makes the game so much easier, it's worth it. After that, I attacked Uzbek and took all their money and some provinces. So that's Chagatai in 1474. A good looking name placement actually. Right after this, I was fighting a few rebels and Oirat decided to attack me. Just Oirat and Mongolia versus me and my vassal Yarkand. AI has been declaring weird wars in this patch, so I wasn't really surprised. And luckily, I had taken the transfer subject at half cost age ability, so I could take Mongolia as my vassal from this war. It costs 200 diplo points, but for that amount of provinces, it's very worth it. One thing I will mention here is that as opposed to Oirat or Mongolia hordes, we start as Sunni, and expanding into Tengri provinces is not fun. My religious unity at this point was 50%, which is pretty bad, and it meant a lot of constant rebels, even after raising autonomy. I was basically playing this game on speed 5 and my army was running around constantly, either fighting rebels or fighting other nations. After the Uzbek truce was over, I decided to attack them again. They have a lot of our culture group provinces, so it makes sense to take those provinces for ourselves. And of course, all their money, because horde economy sucks. Then it was time to attack Oirat again. I took some more culture group provinces again and more money. It's already 15:10 and I have been playing rather slow actually. The rebels were spawning just too often. But I wanted to show here that even if you don't play super aggressive, you will be okay, as now my economy was getting slightly better, and if you have horde unity issues, you can always buy it using military points. Just make sure you don't lag behind on military tech. I wanted to take on Timurids next. They have blobbed a fair bit though, so I needed an ally, and after improving relations, I was finally able to ally Kara, who also hates Timurids. So I called in Kara with promise of land and declared on Timurids. They only had a couple of small allies. While I was sieging down Timurids, they were busy with Kara, and Kara actually peaced out early and ceded a few provinces in the war. Unfortunate for them, but it works great for us. I took a few provinces from Timurids and peaced out too. It was time to attack Oirat one more time as they still had some of my culture group provinces. I took those provinces, some money, and pieced them out in a very quick war. Now I had truces with almost everyone I wanted to actually expand into. So I turned towards India because rich Indian land is very good. I found a good easy target in Multan and took some nice provinces and some money from them. After waiting for a few years and fighting endless rebels, I finally had 10 favors with Kara, so I declared on Timurids once more. Again, taking all their money and even more provinces. The AE was getting a bit high over here though, so I decided to shift my focus to east next. As my vassal Mongolia has some courts on Korchin, they were my next target. It was a quick war and I took the courts back and pieced them out. Soon after that in 1549, I noticed that Ming had low mandate and they actually passed the final reform, which was quicker than I thought they would do it. But it was time to take on Ming finally. I cancelled my tributary and declared on Ming immediately. With my 2 vassals and Ming's slow mandate and their crisis of Ming dynasty disaster, this wasn't going to be a difficult war. While at war with Ming, the Shun rebellion fired and I went to war with Shun as well because that's an option with the event. From Ming, I took a couple of provinces of my culture and just all their money, which is a lot of money. Then I pieced out Shun for their money and the Mongolian course as well. And so we had caused the Ming implosion successfully, and that was the whole point of declaring this war. Actually, later in game, Japan became the emperor of China, which was very interesting to see. Let me briefly mention horde economy here because a lot of you guys have asked me questions on how to handle horde economy. And my advice is simple. Just keep a bare minimum army. You don't need a huge army, especially if you have a couple of decent sized vassals, which you should in any game. And also take money and war reps from everyone. Here you can see my economy doesn't look great. I actually got 2 terrible events giving me minus 21% tax modifier. That's negative 21% tax modifier, which is absolutely terrible. But I had some war reps coming in from wars, and I had a good bang from the Ming and the Shun war. So my economy long term was looking okay. Next, I declared on Timurids, calling in Kara again. I had to do this quickly because my horde unity was suffering and I needed to loot and raise some provinces. And so I took some provinces from Timurids. If you're wondering why I didn't take more, it's because I wanted to take provinces only in the Persia region, which is one of the requirements to form Ilkhanate. Soon after, I attacked Khorasan and took close to 100% war score provinces from them. And as you can see, my horde unity is still not great, so it was time to be at war again. I attacked Mazandaran next. They were allied to the other big blob in Persia, the rarely seen tag actually named Kerman. Kerman had too many allies though, so from this war I annulled all their alliances, then I full annexed Mazandaran. The AE was getting a bit high here and I had truces with some nations and I needed to attack others to make sure they didn't join a coalition. So Gilan was next on the menu and they were all alone. I full annexed them as well. During this war, Kara had attacked Timurids and they took back a lot of provinces. Unfortunately for them, all those provinces were in the Persia region and so I will have to take all of it for myself eventually. I attacked Kerman next and took 100% war score provinces. This now meant a potentially huge coalition, but I was prepared for it. I have been improving relations with Ottomans, Mamluks and Russia, hoping that I could ally one of them eventually, and I finally managed to ally Ottomans, which is amazing. And it's something you will need to do at this point in game, or as soon as you are done with the Ming War. You have to ally one of the big nations in the east to protect yourself from aggression. Ottomans obviously are the best bet. Russia is a close second. A coalition did form actually against me, but it wasn't big enough to declare, and it dissolved in a couple of years. I declared on Mushasha next as they also had some provinces in the Persia region. I took all the provinces I needed, and that meant more AE. But as long as Ottomans were on my side, I did not need to worry about it at all. As soon as I finished that war, Ottomans called me into a war of their own. They had attacked Mamluks. I of course accepted the call and sieged down a bit of Mamluks to get some favors going with Ottomans. So this was the situation in 1600. There was a very small coalition. Luristan unfortunately has just formed and they were not part of that coalition, so I declared on them next. They were allied to Shirvan and Kerman. Shirvan also had a couple of provinces in the Persia region, so I decided to take those provinces. They were not a co-belligerent though, which meant a lot of AE, but like I said earlier, I wasn't concerned about it as long as Ottomans were my ally. I eventually full annexed Luristan from this war. And here is when I moved my capital to a province in the Persia region. It costs a lot of admin points, but when you do this, the Ilkhanate decision shows itself. Basically, you need to be a horde, have a primary culture in Altaik or Tatar group, and have the capital in the Persia region. And you can form Ilkhanate once you own all of Persia region. And that's the reason why I was going so hard at getting everything in Persia. I almost had all the provinces. I attacked my former ally Kara and took some provinces from them. Then I finished up Timurids, then Kerman, and then Balochistan and Hormuz. The only provinces left now was in AQ. But AQ were allied to Ottomans, so I had to wait for the right opportunity. All this time I was constantly fighting rebels by the way, which was painful, but my economy was a bit better now. After waiting a while, I saw that Russia and Ottomans were fighting and finally I saw the chance. Ottomans' army got beat up by Russia and Ottomans wouldn't join the war. So I declared on AQ and took the provinces I needed. And so finally in 1625 I was able to form Ilkhanate. It has a nice color, but like I mentioned earlier, their ideas are not top tier. That idea set is lacking a core creation cost modifier. They also don't get any perma claims, no special mission tree, and you are still a horde. The ideas are slightly better than Chagatai, so there's that. And that's how you form Ilkhanate starting as Chagatai. After this, I would spend some time expanding in India and then in the China region. The AE in Middle East is too much and it needs to cool down a bit. But overall, my nation was in a very healthy state. I had developed all institutions in the Indian provinces I took earlier, and I also had a few tributaries who would give me money or monarch points, along with 2 very useful decent sized vassals. For ideas, I opened with aristocratic as that's what I do when playing as hordes. Then I took humanist, which is a must as the rebels are just too much. Then influence as I wanted to play with more vassals. And then quality for even more cavalry compatibility. These ideas are good if you want to remain a horde. And that's the guide on playing Chagatai. Starting as Chagatai, you can either go red Yuan or green Mughals or orange Ilkhanate, and maybe even blue Mongol Empire later. And like I mentioned earlier, Ilkhanate is not a strong choice, and Yuan is the best choice if you want to stay horde. And Mughals are, well, Mughals. They are super strong as well, but you lose the horde government type, so you can choose what kind of game you want to play. I hope this guide helps for people who were asking for Chagatai and Ilkhanate guides. I'm curious to see if anyone has ever formed Ilkhanate. If you have, let us know in comments and your reason to play that tag. I played slower than usual in this Chagatai to Ilkhanate run, but despite there being rebels almost all game, I still had a ton of fun. And I hope you guys do too. You are watching a Radio's Guide, thank you for your time, and I'll see you all in the next one.